Inspire.fm.
Hello, this is Jana Marino with Conscious Creation on Inspire.fm, and I am here with KG. And today's topic, we're talking about consciously creating business.
Well, a lot of people would like to start their own business, especially in this current state of time where a lot of young, vibrant youth, looking at Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, earning their millions in their teens. The thing is this, that a lot of people will still have a problem, as they build their business. Number one, is that yes, they need the skill sets. Secondly, is that inside them, they still have this fear. The fear is one, where am I going to get the money? Okay. Secondly, is fear of failure. So, how to address this as they are doing consciously creating it?
Okay, well, the first one was, where do I get the money?
Yeah.
Okay, well, is it true that all businesses need money to start?
Not necessarily.
Yeah. So I'll give a personal example. Something my father always used to say, I'm just hoping he's not listening right now, is it takes 3 years to get it before a business starts making money. And I never wanted to listen to him, but I guess it must have been a subconscious belief for me, because the first 2 years of my business, it was like, what is the point? It almost makes more logical sense to go out and get a job.
Yes.
But my heart was in my business, right? And sure enough, after the third year, I became aware of the block and I released on it. And then I started making money, and it was fine. And especially after the third year, money and clients really started coming in. So I'd say, first of all, examine your own beliefs in programming. What did your parents say about starting a business? Right? What did you hear from others? It may not be your parents necessarily, but what did you hear from your teachers, your colleagues, your fellow students? What did you hear from them about starting a business? Because I guarantee the main things I heard, at least, was it's a lot of hard work. You're going to be working like 80 hours a week and not sleeping. It's going to take a lot of money, a lot of time. 3 years before you start making any profits, as my father told me. And when I started, luckily it was in conscious creation, so I could become aware of the blocks that I had. I call them personal laws, right? And they're personal laws because these laws don't govern everyone, right? So some people have no idea about starting business. They've never had any family members in business. Their family members may not even know what business is. Yeah. And then they go out and start a business and they take off and it is beautiful, and they're just success straight from the start because they don't have the limiting beliefs and personal laws that the rest of us do, right? So great for them, right? There's this quote that I read that said, those who say it can't be done should get out of the way of those that are doing it, right? So just look at your own stuff. What I would suggest is get out a piece of paper and write down everything you heard. Even if you think you may not have agreed to it, just write it down and just to see. And then what you do is, as you go about, note any similarities. Oh, yes, I'm actually experiencing this one, that you need a lot of money to start a business. Oh, yes, I'm experiencing that I have to work 80 hours a week. Oh, and this is where you really look at your results and you compare. Right? So you compare and you see the similarities, and then you become aware of your blocks. And with all blocks, don't make it wrong. Don't say, oh, that's a block. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. No, I don't believe that. Just say, oh, okay, that's something that my ego has. That's a personal law. That's an agreement that I have within my mind. Okay. And it's not bad. Thank you. So what I actually have a lot of my clients do is they picture the block, whatever it may look like, in a bubble in front of them. And I have them say, okay, thank you. So they say thank you to the block. Thank you for showing me what's coming up in my life. Please forgive me for resisting you. Forgive me for making you wrong. And I love you. And I completely accept you. So there's some elements of Ho'oponopono in there as well. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thank you for showing up in my life. And this will help. Because the minute that you become aware of something, it begins dissolving in the light of awareness. Eckhart Tolle puts it beautifully. It's like, you have put a log close to a fire. Eventually, the fire consumes the log, and the log becomes the fire. Same with these blocks, right? So make peace with it, accept it, right? The second one is the fear of failure.
Yeah, I think what most of entrepreneurs or those who are in business or even those who are working, there's this sense of fear of failing, and that sort of like before you even start, you already put yourself halfway at a loss. Right. So how do we cross over?
Well, first I would say, why make failing wrong? And two, what is a failure? Because in my experience of a failure, it has a lot to do with looking bad in front of other people. Okay, that may be different for others, but it was either I'd look bad in front of my parents, I'd look bad in front of my friends, I'd look bad in front of, whoever. So when you release the fear of looking bad in front of people, that eliminates a lot of it. And again, you can just look at it and focus on it and not resist it, right? Second, it's understanding that in this life, which is abundant and which is very supportive and which is a very generous place, is we're given everything, right? All is allowed. Everything is allowed so that we could learn and grow because of it, right? So I don't call it failing in as much as making a mistake. So I've mentioned before my friend and my business partner who was creating his ideal girlfriend, and he went through, this is going to sound really shallow, I don't know how else to put it, he went through like 4 other girls before he found her. But every time he realized it wasn't the right person, it wasn't the person on his list, it wasn't what he really wanted, he didn't go, oh, I'm such a failure, none of this works, this is terrible. He went, okay, what do I need to change? And then he would take what didn't happen in the relationship and he would turn it around to a positive and put it back in his list, right? So it was a completely positive outlook no matter what. So one girl was engaged, okay, went to his list. I want her to be single. Another one, she was too immature. So, okay, I want her to be mature and be working already, not in university, right? So he just kept turning it around. Whenever you hit a wall, right, don't make it into a wall. Just say, okay, this is my stepping stone. Right? So how can I turn this around? Okay, so I'm experiencing no clients in my business. I'd like to experience, 5 new clients a week or whatever it is to you, or 10 new clients a week. And these clients are, they love what I do. They receive a lot of value from my business. They're repeat customers. They recommend all their friends and family to come, and their friends and family come. Then they do this and they do that, and they all have lots of money to give me, right? And they love giving me money because they receive so much value out of it.
In that sense, what you have put just now is that which you also always advocate is that clarity brings about more. And then the thing is this. A lot of times is that when we go into business, sometimes we are not very clear on what we really want to achieve. We think that this is something that we want and what we want out of the business, or this is the partner that we want to be involved with, or this is the direction that the company or this project is going to go. But then there's always the situation of environment, of other people. And we sort of, would then focus on that part of it and not ourselves. So then I think that in conscious creation is always, talking about self as well, right? So how do we relate to that?
Okay, well, understand nothing comes into your sphere. Nothing comes into your life experience without it being a match in some way. So we call it in. And sometimes people don't want to hear this, but it is a law. It is what it is. So understanding, okay, maybe we weren't clear on the kind of people that we work with. Okay, so turn it around? Who do you want to work with? Right? What qualities do you want to see in the other people? And another thing that we do, an assignment we have, is look for evidence of it. Yeah? So I just had this client, she's been calling me every day. And she's thrilled because she has this new relationship. She hasn't been in a relationship for 6 years. And she wasn't really completely in alignment with the new relationship, but it showed up. And she's so thrilled. And then she'd call me and she said, oh my gosh, he asked me out on a first date. What do I do? Well, how do you want your first date to go? Picture it. So then she'd picture it and she's like, oh, but what if this happens? Okay, focus on what it is you want to happen. Then she called me up the next day. Oh, the date went so well. Everything that I wanted to happen happened. Great. I'm really happy to hear. Oh, but now this is happening. And what if, he hasn't asked me to go study with him yet? And now what? Okay, just focus on what you do want, right? So clarity leads to power, yes, but always turning your focus from fear into what is wanted, right? So the universe is just giving you feedback. Again, it's like a big giant smorgasbord of different foods, varieties, tastes, smells, and sounds, sometimes depending on which buffet you go to. So you get to pick and choose, but you have to focus on that. And a lot of times we tend to go to the negative.
Yes.
What if this happens? What if this person says this again? What if this person doesn't do their work again?
All the what ifs. So how to then control all these what ifs? Not to say, I should rephrase that, not control, but be with it.
How to be with it? Well, if we're really present and really in the now, we realize we can be in any situation and we'd be completely fine. Actually, that any fear is just really a creation of the ego. And as Eckhart Tolle says, it's a fear that the ego is going to be diminished or lessened or destroyed in some way. So that's really what all fear is. So when we're completely seated and we're completely present, we're not afraid. Like in this moment, let's say you're having a business issue. Is this business issue affecting you right now in this moment?
Somewhat.
Right now, talking to me on the radio station, is the business issue really affecting you right now?
Well, it does cause some sleepless nights.
But we're talking about now.
Now?
You see. Right now, in this moment, as you're looking at me and talking to me. Yeah, right now it's not. I had a friend, she came up and she goes, Jana, I'm having so many money issues. And I look at her, are you having money issues right now? Yes, I am. Right now, in this moment, talking to me. Is the money issue affecting you? Well, I need more money. Right now, in this moment, do you need more money? Oh, no, I don't. I'm really fine right now. Exactly. So when we're really seated and present, we realize, oh, I'm fine right now in this moment. I have enough to eat. I'm comfortable. I have clothes on my back. Right now, I'm fine. I mean, unless you're getting out of the shower right now and you're naked listening to this, then you don't have clothes on. But you're fine right now in this moment, right? There's nothing threatening our survival. Everything's fine. Right? But we forget that and we go, oh, I got to do this later. And oh, I'm looking at my schedule this week and we're fearful about the future. And if we're not in the future, then we're looking at the past and we're feeling sad or grief or, remorse, embarrassment, but in the now, right? That's where the key is in all creation. So for those of you who have seen Kung Fu Panda, yesterday is history. The future is a mystery, but right now is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So right now in this moment, how do you feel? And this is what the presence exercise is all about. It's really noticing what's going on. So I am aware right now in my body, I feel warm and I feel a bit full from breakfast. And I'm happy. And I'm talking into the microphone and I'm looking at KG in front of me. And right now I am absolutely fine. And the emotions I get from the now, the more I focus on the emotions I get from now, which is seatedness and presence and joy and love, it amplifies the more I focus on it. But if my mind is in the future or in the past, and that's what the ego does, it keeps you out of the now, It says, oh, this happened and I'm so embarrassed, and oh, this could happen in the future. And fear is really a pre-concluding of what's going to happen in the future, which is something we can't know. All we really have is now, right?
All right.
Sorry. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, it did. And I think it also answers questions that a lot of people have, is that, when you are in business, you always have to think about the future. You always have to look at what has happened. You look at the balance sheet, the profit and loss, and things like that. That is the past. And then in the future, you have to build it. So I guess a lot of entrepreneurs or those who are in business or starting out, they sort of lost sense of where they need to be at that time. And when they are at that present time, whatever is in the future and in the past will just resolve by itself.
Well, what I say is visit them momentarily. Make now your primary state of being. So visit the past so you can learn from it. Okay, this happened, so I know not to do that again. And then visit the future. What is it that I want to create? But really primarily be in the now. And when you create, it's to be in the now. It's as if you have it now. The first key to alignment, embodiment. Be, do, have it. So as I sit here in the now, and I'm aware of how I'm feeling, maybe what's going on around me, and the task I am doing right now, also embody what it is that I want. So if you look at your profit and loss sheet, right? Like in The Secret, the guy whited out the numbers and put down what he wanted. Do the same, but feel it first. If you look down on it, and you're reading it in the now, and then you start feeling a bit like bad or down about it, let it go. Or separate. Be really present. And when you're really present and seated, you separate yourself from the emotions so that you are not your emotions. You are observing your emotions, right? And then what you find is as you observe them, they transmute themselves. It's like instead of being angry for days, months, years about something, we're angry for 5 minutes. And it's not even us that's angry. It's like, something, a part of us, our ego is angry for 5 minutes. But we are completely seated and present in the now, right?
So, what's the assignment for today?
The assignment, I think I gave it last time, but definitely to be seated in the now. And what I do with my one-on-one clients is I have them get a daily journal. And they write in it 3 times a day. And they really become aware of what's going on in the now. So I always tell them to do it around meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So either right before or right after you eat, sit down, what's going on now? And really seat yourself. So don't just write down something quickly. I mean, really take a few minutes, sit down, and feel inside your body. Close your eyes. Feel inside your body. Listen to what's happening around you. And when you open them, really observe everything without judgment, right? Without making it good or bad, without just observe. And this is like seatedness. This is I am seated in my being. I am seated in my body. And then write down and really put all of your awareness into writing everything down. Right now I am sitting on this comfortable couch. And I am talking with KG, and I am writing this down right now. And I feel good inside. I feel at peace. I feel centered and focused. I am aware that there is a whole world out there that's moving, but I am seated in the now, right? So I have them do that 3 times a day. So I would definitely recommend that. And that will help, because what seatedness, not seed, but seated, like being seated in yourself. What this does is it eliminates so many problems. All problems are really born from being scattered, right? We forget our keys, we're not present, our kids start crying, we can't be present with them because we're not present with ourselves, we're late for work. All of this comes from being scattered, but if we take a few minutes, a few times a day, and seat ourselves, suddenly, this big, long, productive day where you're looking at it in the morning, you're thinking, oh God, how am I going to get all this stuff done? Suddenly, it just flows. When you're seated, it's just one thing after another. There's this beautiful, effortless flow. There is alignment with everything. Nothing affects your emotional state. And if it does, You are present enough to separate yourself from your emotions and not become the emotion, become the reaction. And what a beautiful thing that is, because like the great sages, they would meditate for 8 to 10 hours a day. And I remember I'd read about it and I'd go, how did they meditate for 8 to 10 hours a day? I have way too much to do.
Yeah.
This is a few years ago. How would they do that? I'm thinking. And yet they accomplished so much more in their life than the average person who doesn't meditate 20 minutes a day. And it's because they're seated. So when you're seated, the right inspiration comes up to take the right action, instead of your mind coming in and giving you 20 actions to take, right? So you ask a question and you're seated, and then suddenly the answer comes up. Go speak with KG about a radio show, or whatever it may be. And then you act on that inspired action. And then all the results you want just pop up. Instead of taking 50 different actions, especially this is such an action-oriented civilization.
So it's like doing without doing.
Yeah, well, it's being seated, and then the right doing comes out. Most of the time, 90% of our action isn't focused. It's not inspired. We're doing it because we're told, oh, you must do, and act. But really, when you're seated, the right inspirational action comes out, right? So seatedness. So especially for you business entrepreneurs out there, if you really want to know the right action to take, only you have the answer. And it really takes a commitment to being seated. Meditate. Walk in meditation. Meditation isn't just sitting. It's also a way of being, So being present and listening inside, feeling inside, and you'll get this inspirational action. Oh, call this person. And then, boom, miracles happen. And it's not miracles. It's actually how life is supposed to be. Yeah?
Great. So, what else you like to share with entrepreneurs and businessmen out there?
Focus on what you want. If you've had past so-called failures, I call them learning experiences. If you've had it, brush it. It's not, it helps you get clearer, right? How would you know if you wanted, between a tuna and chicken sandwich, if you didn't first taste the tuna and really not like the taste, or vice versa, right? How would you know that you wanted to be vegetarian unless you first had a taste of meat, right? So use it as learning. Oh, thank you. Now I'm clearer. Now I know what I want to experience, right? And focus on it. Write it out if you must, and be present. But take whatever, instead of reacting against what you don't like, take it, use it. What do I want instead? Right? So with that, again, I have a conscious creation workshop coming up November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And this is really about being seated. It's really about being centered and coming from the right space before you enter your creations. Because we can try to create all we want, but if we're not coming from the right space, it's going to be a lot of humbling experiences. So if you're interested in it, please shoot me an email. My email is jana@wisdom-ink.com, or you can give me a call at +6 012 667 0365. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, KG.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic day. This is Jana Marino at Inspired.fm talking about conscious creation.
Inspire.fm